I love the Xenoblade series. Regardless of which entry I'm playing in the trilogy, or their wonderful DLCs, the fantastic storytelling and MMORPG gameplay had me hooked from the get-go. Being able to explore nearly every area possible kept me constantly entertained. And also, every character had English accents. Yeah, this series is pretty special. So special, in fact, that it has become my favorite Nintendo franchise to this day. If you want to win my heart, talk British to me. However, while I enjoyed the numbered trilogy, a lot of people, including myself, kind of view Xenoblade Chronicles X as the red-headed stepchild among the series. Don't get me wrong, I still was excited for it. It being the first sequel to Xenoblade even before Xenoblade 2 in 2017. I was eager to see what a next-gen console could do with this classic setting. What I got, however, was a bit unrecognizable. Gone were the familiar elements of the first game. We were in a different universe entirely. The story wasn't nearly as impactful. It was on the Wii U, which absolutely didn't do it any favors. Sorry, Wii U. And the worst offense. The most unforgivable thing imaginable. Everybody talked with American accents. I'd only played the Wii U entry myself a little bit when it first came out, and then I put it down for 10 years. It's not that I didn't like it, it was just too different from what I'd expected Xenoblade Chronicles to be. And no, I'm not punishing the game for being what it was. I just simply forgot about it once other games came out. It wasn't until the Wii U and 3DS Online shut down that I was able to sit down and give it another honest chance. But then Online shut down, so I couldn't experience a lot of the functions of the game. So much for that. Thankfully, Xenoblade Chronicles X got another shot, being one of the last Wii U games to get a full remaster on the Nintendo Switch. And boy, was I excited for this one. I hoped that I could enjoy this overlooked entry that I'd once scoffed at. To take part in this game with all the remastered improvements the Switch version would bring. Plus, maybe it was time to give this game the respect it deserves, even if it's unlike others in the series. So, was Xenoblade Chronicles X an underrated masterpiece I missed out on? Let's find out. The game begins with an intergalactic war between aliens, and Earth is caught in the crossfire. What the fuck? Well, that's unfortunate. The survivors escape on a spaceship called the White Whale, drifting off into the cosmos. That is, until the same alien force catches up to us and sends us crashing into an uncharted planet known as Mira. The survivors dub the crashed area as New LA and strive to survive at all costs. And that's the big difference here. Instead of taking place in a universe on top of two great titans, this game takes place in our universe. Kind of. The Earth hasn't blown up yet. Our home is now destroyed, and we have to do our best to survive on this new planet, filled with alien civilizations, unknown territory, and larger-than-life flora and fauna. But we'll get to that shortly. Would you look at that, a character creator? Unlike other Xenoblade games where you have a pre-made and voiced character with a story of their own, here you create a character of your very own. And it's a pretty good one at that. It has the pretty standard details like hair, eyes, and skin, but there are a lot more customizable options than I've found in other character creators. I'd say it certainly gives Pokemon Scarlet and Violet a run for its money. However, I gotta knock them for not having a bald option. It's not that hard. Just make the character have no hair. It's fine, I'll give myself cool hair, that will work. We wake up and find Elma, the main character of this story. She takes us to New LA, where we join the builders of the legacy after the destruction of Earth, aka Blade. This is a private military group acting as a temporary government while Earth survivors are trying to get their act together. Here we meet our comrades. Along with Elma, there's Lynn, the tech-savvy kid who is obsessed with mechs and skells, Van Damme, the extremely buff commander, who reminds me a lot of another Xenoblade character, and quite a few other Blade recruits we can add throughout our journey. And that's the premise. We work with Elma and other Blades to help make New LA our home away from home, while trying to find something called the Lifehold, a key device that is needed if we're going to survive on this planet. And what a planet this is! Let's get this out of the way now. Xenoblade Chronicles X really immerses you in this vast, living, breathing world. The exotic locations and giant monsters with hidden treasure all around has me itching to head off and explore. I think it sets the standards incredibly high and even outshines later Xenoblade games. I also love how alien and untamed this world feels. These creatures and plants look like they belong here, and the technology from the far future feels advanced in a way that makes sense. We're in the future after all. Even the city, New LA, feels advanced with a high-tech wall and giant robots walking around known as skells. But more on those later. Like every Xenoblade game, this game has a main story. But unlike the others, this one kinda takes a back seat compared to what the rest of the game has to offer. Like I said, it's fine. There are plenty of twists and turns that I didn't see coming. But unlike the previous Xenoblade games, you quickly figure out the story isn't why people play. Chapters are essentially mission-based, lasting only an hour or so, and the plot points proceed rather quickly, making the whole thing feel a bit rushed at points. Some characters get randomly introduced, or certain villains don't get a proper send-off. Speaking of villains, they don't seem too complex either. Just aliens who want to wipe out all of humanity and nothing more. It almost comes across as a bit basic. The story feels like a necessary vehicle to move things along, which, if I'm honest, was a bit of a bummer. Having the main story take a back seat like this is probably the main reason I put this game down 10 years ago. To be fair, the story gets better the more we progress. There are some legitimate twists I didn't see coming, and moments that really invested me. It just isn't a majority of this 100+ hour JRPG. Another ding this game gets from me though, our main character doesn't really have much of a personality, other than getting a choice to answer certain prompts that have little to no impact on the story. And for fans of a series like Xenoblade, I can see why that would be a problem. Instead, the focus is on Elma, Lynn, and... hang on, I think I'm forgetting someone. Oh, that's right. I wanted to forget him. Tatsu. Oh, how annoyed I can get with one character. He's a Napon, basically the Moogles of the Xenoblade universe for you Final Fantasy fans out there, and there's usually one main one present in every Xenoblade game. Tatsu is my least favorite out of the entire franchise. He's a coward, he's a bit pompous, and yes, you can probably make some jokes about that, but the main thing I hate about him is that this game just does the same joke with him over and over. What is this joke? What hilarity does this game insist we hear about over and over? He looks like a potato, and people want to eat him. That's it. I don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, he kind of looks potato-shaped, but not really. I haven't been this confused since Pokemon tried to pass rice balls as jelly donuts. Seriously, the amount of times this joke is done throughout this very long game gets old real fast. And it makes him one of the most annoying Napon in the series. And that includes the one with a closet full of maid outfits that just says the word blushy crushy casually. The Napon are very weird. So if 10% of missions is the story mode, what's the other 90% consist of? Well, in this over 100-hour RPG, a lot of it is going to be side quests, exploring Mira, and doing what we can to make New LA our new home. The majority of the game is based around improving the city. We can join many different divisions, each with its own objective for helping New LA thrive. Some examples include curators who go around Mira and collect materials, pathfinders that focus on exploring and setting up probes, harriers that do their best fighting dangerous critters, and mediators who solve domestic problems in the city. There are 8 different divisions to choose from, so pick the one that best suits you. I chose pathfinders personally. But in the end, you're going to be doing a variety of missions regardless of the division. From gathering things, fighting monsters, helping out citizens of New LA, and placing probes all over Mira. Especially the probe thing, as when they're placed down, the map is slowly revealed. Along with the map, there are also treasure spots and special monsters called tyrants to investigate. Tyrants are basically unique monsters that you can fight similar to the other Xenoblade games. I found it very satisfying slowly filling in the map and seeing what's out there. But it's not just exploration. There's plenty of fighting to go around for players that are into this type of thing. Whether it's the tyrants from earlier, or an alien race hellbent on exterminating the last of humanity, combat is going to be very familiar to folks returning to Xenoblade Chronicles 1. There's an auto attack system along with special moves that have a cooldown after you perform them. It's all pretty standard for MMO veterans, though one feature I think makes the Definitive Edition stand out is the color coordination involved. Not only will you get an exclamation point icon highlighting a beneficial art, but party members' dialogue will match the color, making it easier to understand what's going on. I personally love this change for the Definitive Edition, because before it felt like I was blindly flailing about, hoping I'd hit the right icon. The missions really are the bread and butter for this game though, and there's quite a few of them. The majority of them will happen in the main hub area of New LA. Honestly, this is one of the best areas in the game. It feels like a blossoming frontier capital, complete with plenty of folks to talk to, robots walking around all over the place, and cars that drive through you? Wow, who knew the future of cars would not only involve vehicles you could step through, but still run on fossil fuels. The music of the city is memorable and fitting too. The day theme always gets me energized for exploring. Hey you got a quest for me? 1, 2, 3, 4! And the night theme. Okay, it sounds a little ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still one of my personal favorite themes in the game. It's sort of a guilty pleasure of mine, and these tracks never get old no matter how much time I spend in the city. The rest of the game's music is fantastic too, either having atmospheric or adventurous themes depending on the location. This game also has some of the most intense battle themes I've ever heard in my life. I know it's music from Xenoblade, I shouldn't be surprised, but I think its commitment to keeping a cyberpunk aesthetic should be applauded. I think the person who made the soundtrack for this went on to make the soundtrack for Attack on Titan, and you can certainly tell. An environment, however, is only as good as what you can do with it. So, let's go back to the missions. First off, there are the story missions, usually found with red exclamation icons, which simple enough, missions that advance the story. There are basic missions that you can get in the terminal and have objectives like gathering materials, fighting a certain amount of monsters, or sometimes are prerequisites to other missions. You can do 20 at a time, and it's a good idea to always accept as much as you can, as oftentimes you'll be able to knock some of these missions out while playing the game normally. Lastly, we have normal and affinity missions. They may not sound like a big deal, but you will be spending all your time doing this. Trust me. Normal missions are tasks you do for the citizens of NLA, and they can be a variety of things. Some of them are similar to basic missions, but usually this is where you're getting the lore. If you want to know what's really going on in this city, Normal Missions has its finger on the pulse of the city. These are also great ways to experience world building and a better understanding of the greater story here. The sheer number of them can be overwhelming, especially when you look at the map of New LA. I just want to stay home today. But the really cool thing Xenoblade X does is make NLA feel alive through its questing system. Each quest has a story to it. Some quests connect with others, and some have different outcomes depending on your dialogue choices. Yeah, they may not matter in the main story, but there are several dialogue choices from the side quests that decide whether someone lives or dies. In fact, a lot of people die in this game. It's kind of gruesome. There's quests where you have to find certain characters, quests where you go to a water power plant and things get weird, and it turns into a bit of a horror movie. There's even a quest that I swear was inspired by Back to the Future, where you have a time traveler come to New LA and you help him get back to the future with a car time machine. His name is even Professor B.
Great Scott!
You even get to the point where you recruit other alien races to join your rebuilding efforts, like the Napon, not you, mentioned earlier, but also a species called the Mananan. These are intelligent alien life forms with some of the most advanced tech in the universe. And they sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Would you? We have to do this, right? For everyone
My
back in the
gosh.
ship. But how are we supposed to destroy the turrets? This place is like we crawling with ganglion, no?
Oh my gosh, it's Alvin and the Chip.
Affinity missions are pretty similar to normal missions, but they usually focus on a party member. You have quite a few playable characters you can add to your party, and you unlock them by doing one of their affinity quests, each one having their own story, their role in New LA, and their own class. It not only gives you more gameplay options, but a lot of these quests are the best in the game. I think it's fun to learn their backstories. I could go on and on about how intriguing these quests are, and how you can, and I have, spent hours on them alone. The game encourages you to do these quests as a way to help flesh out this alien world. While previous Xenoblade games had side quests just as good, this is X's main bread and butter. This is why people get lost in this game. And I'm kinda kicking my past self a bit for dismissing it just because the main story was a bit basic. This is the meat and potatoes of this glorious buffet of an RPG. God, now I'm hungry. Where's Tatsu? Let's go back to exploration a bit. I know I'm going all over the place, but hear me out. Out of all the Xenoblade games, this is the one that encourages you to explore the most. Remember those probes I mentioned earlier? They give you a lot more than checkpoints. You can add special probes to checkpoints, ones that add research points or accrue money over time. Mining probes to get Miriam, a very important element in Xenoblade, which we'll get to shortly. There are duplicate probes that duplicate your probes, storage ones that increase the storage of Muranium. There's even probes that enhance other probes. That's a lot of probes. And while most RPGs, you would probably have to go to these spots to collect your spoils, right? Not in Xenoblade X. You get your money and Muranium automatically. So while you're busy questing, you get the best kind of M&Ms. And I'm not talking about the chocolate. Money is obvious. You use it to purchase weapons, armor, and things like that. Muranium, however, has a lot of uses. You need to collect some of it for quests, but a lot of times it's used to develop new weapons and gear. It is key that you use Muranium as much as possible, and where you place your probes on the map allows you to get money and Muranium quickly. It's so nice that you don't have to worry about money and can just focus on the adventure. Although I will admit, the concept of using probes is something that had to be explained to me. It can be overwhelming trying to understand all the mechanics for this game. It tries its best, but you can still be confused if you don't pay attention and miss an important detail. However, I think having played the original, that was much worse for me. I think another reason I stopped playing the original Xenoblade Chronicles X was not only everything that was involved with it, but also the fact that the game did a really terrible job explaining it. There was so much to explain. Some of it just wasn't done clearly. Some of those systems were just convoluted, and I was left feeling exhausted. Fortunately, the Definitive Edition fixes a lot of that. Sure, there are obvious improvements. The graphics and characters look much more appealing, and the font size is a lot bigger. Why was it so small in the original? It doubles down on the tutorials, which, yeah, can probably get annoying, but for a game like this, you need in-depth and repeat tutorials on how everything works. Xenoblade has a lot of convenient things, like being able to fast travel. God, this game wouldn't nearly be as fun without it. But there were a lot of quality of life features added in the Definitive Edition. For example, you can change the time anywhere, anytime. In the original X, you can only do it at specific time stations. Now in the Definitive Edition, you can just do it. And hey, remember those party members I mentioned before? The over 20 characters you could recruit? You probably wanted them all in your party at one point, right? Well, if you wanted to add them to your party, you had to individually find them on the map each and every time. Oh yeah, and they wouldn't level up otherwise. Why would they? They're just chilling out in the woods somewhere, not working on themselves. What are you talking about? You will use Elma and Lynn, and that's it. Thankfully, the Definitive Edition fixes that by not only making it where you can switch party members in the main menu, but they automatically level up alongside you. Such a good quality of life change, you have no idea. It allows players the freedom to experiment with whoever they want to play with. Some party members are required for certain missions, and some are actually excluded from certain missions too. But most of the time, you can choose whoever you like. The Definitive Edition even adds a few new party members that weren't in the original game, so that's a nice surprise too. However, not everything improves. And while I don't have many complaints, one of my biggest ones, along with the story, is the enemy placement. If I'm honest, Xenoblade X has a level scaling problem. I know, I'm sorry. You had to hear it. These enemies are simply too powerful. It feels like a lot of them can just squish you like a bug. Don't get me wrong, I can see why they'd want this to be a thing. We are, after all, fighting alien creatures that are larger than life, and a lot of the original Xenoblade games had just level 70 monsters in the early game. It makes sense there's going to be some high-level creatures just around the area. I get that. Xenoblade X goes above and beyond a little too much, and a lot of the times, the enemies you have to face for a quest that are supposed to be on your level are just close enough to giant monsters or hostile aliens that you might as well be double the level of if you want an honest shot of safely doing them. It can be very annoying to try and dodge and sneak past these things that will absolutely murder you just to complete a task. And I've died many a time just from an unexpected monster that thought I'd make a good snack. Is it better than the original? Yes, by a long shot, but it's still a negative for me, especially since not only is level a factor with how tough they are, but also their size too. An enemy can be your level or under, and if it towers over you in size, you could get killed regardless. If only there was a way to travel and fight in combat that made you bigger, tougher, slightly more robotic. But who the skell would think of that, am I right? I don't know if you notice, but the cover of the game has a giant robot on it, and it's called a skell, a giant mech that you can pilot and use on your adventures. About halfway through the game. I know that may sound like a complaint, but I actually don't mind this decision, as if you got these things right away, you wouldn't travel much on foot, would you? You spend a good amount of time exploring the game as your avatar before you get your mech, and even after getting it, I have to give Xenoblade X credit. The world still looks and feels huge even when in the giant mech suit. You're able to jump super high. You have arts that are based on the parts of your skell. And as for fueling it, remember that handy dandy Moranium I talked about earlier? Yup, use that to fuel your skell too. You really can feel like a powerhouse when riding around in these things, getting to places where you couldn't before. It's like getting to experience Mira all over again. You can buy new skells that are stronger as the game goes on. But I warn you, these things aren't cheap. They aren't indestructible either. You can easily break them if you aren't careful. And if you don't hit a button at the right time, it will cost you. Whether it be your insurance, yes, skell insurance is a thing in this game. Of course it is. Even in an alien world, humans still gotta make a buck, America. Or worse, you have to rebuy your skell altogether. With great power comes great payments? What's that? There's more that makes this game fantastic? Well, what if I told you everything was online? Kind of. It's not a typical online mode. You can't play with your friends technically. We each have our separate games still. However, you can join online squads, whether it be a random squad or with your friends or even private ones. And while you can't actually play with them, you can see other avatars in the game. You can even add them to your party. My friend Mantle had a level 77 Harrier class fighter, and I've been using them in my party to get past a lot of the tougher enemies quicker. It will cost you money, but since you'll have plenty of it with the probes, you can use it to recruit players from around the world to help you out if needed. There are other cool factors like rewards, as you can get tickets that trade for items you need for later quests. This can save you a lot of time. Instead of looking all over Mira for an item or praying that a specific item drops, you could just trade in a ticket and bam, you got it. Super easy. You even have squad missions where you have to kill certain enemies with your squad. It's not the most traditional online mode, but it's done in a creative way that makes it feel like an MMO. In fact, the more I think about it, Xenoblade X seems like Monolith's soft attempt at making an MMO. At least as much of an MMO on the Wii U it could be. And while obviously it's hard to compare it to something like WoW, it still really is a fantastic game. I am extremely impressed with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. And I'm kind of surprised that a lot more people aren't talking about it. I know this is a remaster of a 10-year-old game, and one of the last entries on the Switch 1 before the next console comes out, but more people should play this game. I'm sure a lot of people missed out on the original, whether it be because it was different from the original Xenoblade Chronicles, or the fact it was on the Wii U. But I'm really glad the Switch is giving this game some new life. It looks better, has better quality of life options, and will certainly keep you busy for hours on end, with its engaging quest system, masterful exploration, and some of the best world building the series has ever done. I know I'm a die-hard Xenoblade fan, but as someone who once called this game their least favorite in the series, that simply isn't true anymore. It's such a magnificent game that even remote fans of science fiction, open world games, or heck, even mech games would certainly appreciate it. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is sure to make a stellar impression. And there's still some stuff I didn't get to experience yet. I didn't finish the main story. There's a whole epilogue exclusive to the Definitive Edition. There's probably even more side quests I didn't get to do. There's a lot going on with this game, and I really do hope more people play it, especially when there's a Switch 2 edition. Not if, when, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be in the works. Now, the ultimate question. A question that I must ask right away and cannot wait for. Is the sequel to this game going to be called Xenoblade Chronicles X2 or Xenoblade Chronicles Y? Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Special thanks to everybody who helped me out with today's video, credited here. An extra special thanks to my Patreon patrons, including Mantelferox, Blu-ray Joe 3, and Savacom. If you'd like to join the Patreon, the link is in the description below, along with my Blue Sky, Twitch, and Instagram. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good night.